Welcome to Insights from Elsewhere. My name is Cynthia, Portugal. I am a Brazilian. I live in São Paulo, Brazil, and I'm the growth director at Insight Platforms. I'm responsible for events, content, trainings, and now, of course, this podcast. I have worked in the insights field for more than 20 years in roles and agencies like Cantor and JFK, also at client side like Ernest& Young, Unilever, and JD. And I have worked in local, regional, and global roles, which gave me a perspective of how research can be different within different perspectives, different markets, different countries. And that's why we decided to create this podcast. We want to dig into the world of insights and market research analytics beyond the big markets of Eastern Europe and beyond United States as well. And we are going to take a look at insights professionals from Latin America, Asia, Africa, and elsewhere to understand how they do research, what is unique about their countries, how they work with different countries and headquarters. And of course, we are going to dig into how they perceive research technology, how they use it, and how they see AI evolving the research landscape. In this session, I'm going to talk to Rosana Martins, and she is the Global Foundational Consumer Strategy Lead Insights for Emerging Markets at Kraft Heinz. In this role, she takes care of many countries, not only Brazil, but she takes care of Mexico, Poland, Russia, Turkey, East Europe, and many more. So it adds a bit of a layer, an extra layer of challenge to the role because she's not just doing research in an emerging country like Brazil, but also in other emerging countries from Brazil. She has a huge experience in market research from major CPG companies like Mondelez, AB InBev, PepsiCo, Diageo, and Unilever. In fact, we worked together at several times during our careers. She was sometimes my client, sometimes we were colleagues, sometimes partners. It's been a while, right, Rosana? Welcome. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. It's a pleasure to be here. Very exciting to talk to you about research and changing our environment. And thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, enough about hearing my voice. Let's hear Rosana talk about. I think the first thing I would like to know, Rosana, is about your journey because you've been through different companies, different roles, different types of roles. Tell me about your journey. How did you get here? How did you get into market research?
Yes, I always say that I enter in this area totally by accident and I fell in love because I am a very curious person and I love to understand behaviors, understand what's behind everything that we are seeing, to searching about trends and understanding why people do what they do. And then I fell in love. It was after college. I entered in Kraft Foods and I have the opportunity to really understand how organization works and how market research has a critical role into the business decision, creating insights and driving growth in the company, driving brands. And then this journey begins around, I don't know, 20 years ago. And until now, I am totally passionate about this function.
That's wonderful. And how did you end up at Kraft Heinz? Tell me about the journey to get there.
Yes, I was finishing college and I applied to be part of the team that at that time was in Curitiba, the south area of Brazil, in Paraná. And I have zero experience and they are trying to build a team of marketing research. At that time was only marketing research itself. We are not talking about insights, consumer marketing strategy, and not
It was asking and responding questions.
exactly. So I entered the process and I was approved. And then I started learning everything there. It was my school. and I have opportunity to work in local, regional, and global roles with very important brands since Tang until Lacta Suchard. And it was a great journey. And everything that I know, I learned from that time. And I was collecting learnings, informations, methodology, was getting a specialist in the area based in that beginning.
That's wonderful. Oh, that's pretty nice way to start and to have such a fun relationship with the company. And now, tell me about your role now. What do you do?
I am based in Brazil, in São Paulo, but I have a global position at Kraft Heinz. It's part of the global insights and analytic structure. And my pillar is based on foundational strategy and insights. I am focused on emerging markets, which already means some of the countries from Turkey, Poland, Brazil, Russia, Saudi Arabia. And so there's a lot of emerging markets. And then my role is in charge of creating the foundations to having the insights and drive the business.
What kind of research is foundations?
Brand health, tracking, demand landscapes, market structure, capabilities such as drives and barriers, brand stretch, empathy programs. So those kind of methodologies and nuances about consumers and behaviors that could drive the business, and then elevating other projects for innovation or transformation the business.
So, yes, it is indeed a challenge because you do research here, but in several other regions and continents as well. How does that work? What are the challenges when you are doing research in so many different countries at the same time?
Yeah, it's a very complex thing because first you have to understand the nuances, the local nuances. Not always we have the same brands into the countries. Sometimes we have some local jewels. Sometimes we have global brands. So you have to mix and match the objective and what you want to learn or discover versus the portfolio for the country. There's also something related to investments and budget that you have to combine. And it's always. And also sometimes you have to drive some decisions based on key countries because it's not always possible to run 18 countries at the same time. So you will select 4 to 6 key countries and then defining the strategy, and the research will be focused on those countries. So it's very complex because you have to deal and manage the stakeholders' wishes, but also be very accurate methodologic versus the portfolio. So driving all those different pieces is the challenge.
Wow. You mentioned some nuances about Brazil and other countries. Can you give some examples of what kind of nuances make a difference when you're doing a project like in several countries?
Yeah, for example, Brazil is unique due to the vast socioeconomic diversity and cultural complexity. So we have to must deeply understand regional, socioeconomical levels and nuances, even generational diversity and differences across markets. For example, we are talking about Gen Z in Turkey could be different versus Argentina because of the local cultural differences. So we have to take that into account. Although it's the same generation, there are the cultural habits that are driving different behaviors. So that's one thing. Another thing is the behavior language and to make the studies standards, because sometimes you not running everything in English. So you have to use the local language to do it. And then you have to adapt. Even, for example, a claim test. You have to adapt to the local nuance, although you are working with a global brand. There's some things from behaviors to socioeconomic environment. So even the women's role is different. And you have to take that into account in some of the research
Mhm.
because the countries have different interactions. So it's very complex, but that's the beauty of everything is to talk
Yes.
to the consumer and understand everything that is behind the behavior and the nuances. And working with emerging markets, you can also find similarities.
Oh, that's good. What kind of similarities do you think you find when you're working with so different countries in terms of culture, in terms of habits, and even generation?
I am learning that there are some universal things. For example, when we talk about the man landscapes, so we are talking about when occasions meet need states. So there are a few things regarding hunger fit, balanced lives, trying to indulge it yourself. Maybe that's common for among everyone across the globe. So the needs could be the same. So quench thirst, hunger, fed. So there's many things that could happen here in Brazil that also could happen in Greece because that's human behavior. So I think it's very important to consider insights with this layer of human because that's is universal and that's then you can find similarities and work with your portfolio to drive in how to play and where to win using those learnings.
It's great. And now, thinking about your position in Brazil, because you, of course, know Brazil better than the other countries, not just now, but before, what normally the head offices or other markets get wrong about Brazil when they're trying to do some research here?
I think, let me think. I guess they often underestimated how heterogeneous the country
Mm.
is. There's a tendency to look at São Paulo and
Yeah.
generalize. So,
Yes.
or to treat Brazil as Europe or North America. Oh, if it happens in São Paulo, it's similar versus what we have in UK or what's happening in US. Regarding, for example, in digital penetration, media habits, no, we are very different. They also sometimes assume that the global tools and trackers can be dropped in as it is
Oh,
and without the local customization. And that's not possible. Sometimes we have to do some tailor made solutions, even to the global tools. So I think this is a big thing. But normally think that Sao Paulo, it's
it's
the
Brazil.
reality here is the reality around. And no, it isn't.
Uh-huh.
And also regarding the high socioeconomic levels,
Yeah.
especially in Brazil, we are a small percentage of high socioeconomic levels in our country. So the reality for other percentage of middle and low classes are very different. And we are not always looking into that.
Yes, that's true. Do you have any good stories that you can share? You don't need to say names or
Yeah.
companies or anything, just the plot.
Yes, I am. Normally, I had an example from the past in a previous life. It was not even here around, but once a global segmentation model totally failed in Brazil because the attitudinal clusters didn't map our local socioeconomic reality. They were using and assuming a level of digital access that was similar versus US regarding the purchasing power, and they apply to the entire sample in most of the population, and that's not reflected our reality at the time. So
Oh my
we
God.
have to rework the entire research. We have to rebuild it local with a local data and found very different insights based on our socioeconomical data and the media habits. So there was very different insights regarding brand affinity, value of our brands, and even around trust. So that was very interesting to see, although a double work because we have to do it and review everything.
Yes, everyone in the research has done some double work at some time.
Exactly. And also because sometimes what seems very hard for someone outside our country is something very common for us. So you're not telling me anything new. We already know that. So
Yeah.
tell me what's behind that. Or so I also faced some of those challenges and some funny stories saying that we have a result that is very cool and discovered something new. No, that's obvious for us. So we have to dig in deep. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now let's dig into technology a little bit.
Yeah.
What is your experience with tools or platforms for research and insight?
I'm an old school lady because it's been a while in this market, but the Rosana nowadays is much more, how can I say that? I'm willing to try new things and I puzzle a little bit. I like to mix and match different methodology, a piece of things, and not doing huge researches anymore, but small samples of everything, collecting different things. For example, maybe a qual with a social listening and then a small piece of quantitative to close everything. So I am navigating in different mix and matching, different methodologies, experimenting AI and very passionate about it. I'm optimistic and positive about AI in our market. So I think there's something that is always changing. Our market is always evolving. And every day we have the demand to be agile, faster, and trying to anticipate what's next. So trying to read behaviors very fast in agile way to be assertive and to be ahead of our competition.
Yeah, that's true. You have worked at a platform, an insights platform before Mind Miners.
Yeah.
And you were as a client comparing to the experience when you work for a platform. What do you think is missing from the perspective of tools, platforms for insights available in Brazil to really help clients out?
True integration across methods and data types is still rare. What I mean by that, most platforms are single method focused. So if you are a panel, you are a panel. If you are a social listener, you do social listening. So I would love to see more tools that blend behavior data, social listening, service, qual in a seamless way. I think that would be beautiful because, and also better AI driven insights generation that goes beyond dashboards, tools that helps to tell stories. I guess the integration of data, mix and match different methods will be very interesting to see. And I guess that's miss in some of the tools and platforms around today.
As a client, do you have time? Do you have the opportunity to try out new things and new platforms, new tools, or even startups in your business? Do you think it's open for testing new stuff?
Yes, I am. I love to be the early adopter for new tools and test and pilot things. Even, for example, couple of months ago, I did the qual with a robot. That was very fun and exciting to see how the machine can learn and being even better than us in some of the aspects. So I love to try new things. I think I always try to learn from others. You are one inspiration to me. You know that.
Thank you.
Always helping me to think different things, different methods, trying new things, doing other ways. So I love to do that. And that's why I'm so positive and optimist about AI, because I do not believe that will replace the human insight, although will create a great scale. The learning is faster. And then we can use our expertise to customize everything that we are having from the AI tools. So I'm very open to new tools and experimenting things.
Do you see any differences? Because, like in terms of language, for example, and you talked about cultural barriers, etc. There are a lot of tools and platforms available in the world, but only a few in Portuguese. But when you look into Portuguese version, do you think there is a challenge there, or it's perfect as it was designed here?
I think we have language barriers, definitely. Many platforms are designed in English with a little adaptation to Portuguese or to Spanish sometimes, but not always very accurate, not just in translation, but also the interface and conceptual framing.
What do
Some
you mean by that?
some qualitative examples, for example, they assume certain cultural behaviors around self-expression that not always translate how it is the reality. That can be a big issue. So everything naturally is thinking in English, and then we need to adapt and understand. And I always, although we do speak English, when we are doing local things with our local native language, we have some richness to understand inside what's behind what people are mentioned. So I think there's some beauty into that. And we have some language barriers in my perspective to get the insights sometimes.
Mm.
Business.
A big hands out for the companies, the platforms to increase their language skills.
And also because, for example, in emerging markets, in Brazil, we only have not even 2% of the total population that really speaks English in a very fluent way.
Yeah.
So it's so small. So we have to adapt the tool to the consumers because they are not able to communicate with us in English. And that's another barrier. So, yeah.
Sometimes they don't know where to click, what is reset or stop, or
Exactly.
this kind of next isn't obvious, right?
Yeah. So it's not only about the tool for us regarding the language barrier, but how to deal with consumers and to make more intuitive and easy to them.
That's wonderful. What's the coolest thing about AI for market research that you have ever worked or heard of or seen? Anything?
I'm very excited. As I mentioned, I'm very excited about
Yeah.
AI. I'm always learning something new every day. It's incredible everything that the man can do because this is developed by us as human being. So I excited about how AI helps us to decode unstructured data. So like videos, voice, open-ended responses, trying to understand the emotional side and thematic insights during this decodification. So for me, it's very surprising. I have a fun stories to share that I asked to the chat GPT make my dog a real person. And I have 3 dogs, and one of them is 40 years old. And then I put a picture and I create a prompt to translate my dog into if the dog was a person. And then the AI generate an old guy, very happy. And it was so interesting to see that it was able to understand the emotional thing and vibe of the picture. So I think that this is something very exciting to me. So I'm also curious about generative AI applications for scenarios of planning and ideation. How can we better structure that? One of the coolest thing I've seen recently is a AI tool that can simulate consumer personas.
Mm-hmm.
And then test creative stimulus in a real time. So that's something that I not even thought about it in a few years back.
Yeah.
So we're going to learn a lot if we are smart enough to understand that this is not a threat. This is something like it's the new industrial revolution. It's the new internet. So we are facing a new era. So I think I am very cool about it. And one of the coolest thing is this of the consumer personas to test creative images.
Wonderful. Rosana, I can't thank you enough. That's been amazing. To close up, I want to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Yes,
What
please.
is your favorite research methodology ever? Pick anything.
I love
Well
the
done, you.
yeah, I love the ethnographic and semiotic work. I am the ones that like to dig in deep all the nuances and understanding behind everything. So the ethnos is the foundational work. So the empathy programs, the love this type and piece of research.
Beautiful. And the most exciting trend in research today?
How generation are impacting behavior nowadays because we have a digital natives generation. They are changing the game, the way people think, the way people experience brand, the way driving decisions. So that's the beauty of things. So new generations that are rising as digital are changing the human behavior and impacting consumer behavior, purchasing, drivers, and so on. So that's changing the game to the omni channels, the e-commerce. So there's a lot of impact. I'm not even know if is that a trend anymore because the generation is there, the digital world's there, but it's changing fast all the time. It's
Yeah,
creating a clash sometimes.
really. Well, last thing. If you meet someone that is starting their market research career today, like you were in the beginning of your career at Kraft, what would be your piece of advice for them?
Look outside, try to create a stronger repertoire, try to understand how brands do what they do, not only look into your category or to your business, look outside, learn from the broader frame of reference and creating the repertoire that will make you a better insider.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It has been really fun to talk to you and always a pleasure. I would
Oh,
like
thank
to
you.
thank everyone listening to the Inside platform, the Insights from Elsewhere podcast today. We are an insights and innovation podcast with experts from and leaders from Latin, Asia, Africa, and elsewhere, of course. Today we talked to Rosana Martins. She's a fellow Brazilian. She's the Global Foundational Consumer Strategy Lead Insight for emerging markets at Kraft Heinz. We talked about how she got by accident into research. She talked about the nuances and challenges of working with emerging markets across several regions, several continents, actually. She talked about what is exciting about research technology, AI, and how it's shaping the future of research, and how she is willing to be like part of it in the area and learn more and do more with Rosana.
Cynthia, thank you so much for the invitation. It's so fun to connect to you and be part of this podcast. Hope some of the conversation create new insights to everyone. And it's a pleasure to be with you always.
Oh, thank you very much, Rosana. It was wonderful. I loved the insights. I loved speaking to you. It's always a pleasure to speak to you.
Oh,
So,
and you are a great host. You are very cool in
and
this podcast. You're leading perfectly.
thank you, Rosana. Thank you. You're very kind. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of our podcast. And if you know someone that would be interesting or would have interesting stories to share, just send them to me. My email and details will be on the landing page of this podcast. Subscribe to Insight Platforms to get all the information of upcoming events, podcasts, webinars, ebooks, etc., straight into your mailbox every Friday. And also, you can subscribe to our Research Tools Radar, a weekly newsletter every Wednesday with the new things happening around the globe with technology, tools, platforms, all the changes and evolution regarding the technology world. Thank you very much, everyone. Rosana, thank you again. And I hope to see you soon and see you in the next episode.
See you guys. Thanks, Cynthia.